Go.
All right, Tuesday. I forgot the date. It's May 3rd or 4th or 5th or any between 1st and 10th is one of these days, and it's a Tuesday. Bit of bad news now. COVID not so bad in a sense that they're saying the curve in Maharashtra, and I'm talking about local, obviously not so good in India, maybe a little lower. There may be a decline in the worm, so to speak. We'll come to that. But for me, horrendous news. There's a very strong chance that the IPL may be cancelled, which means life as we know is over for people like me. This is and I do mean to be insensitive, worse than running out of oxygen as far as I'm concerned. Because I just, I mean, this is all I have. Watching the IPL is all I have. I can't even watch erotic films anymore because the Wi-Fi downstairs doesn't work properly, and upstairs, in front of your mother and father at age 49, it just looks horrible to be watching porn. So, IPL, if it gets cancelled, I'm destroyed, distraught. But things aren't looking good in the quarter where it's supposed to be, which is Calcutta and Bangalore, and things may spiral in the next few hours. You heard it first on our show because we get you breaking news, which doesn't exist. I know another guy does it on his channel, but we also do it, but we do it on a podcast format. Okay, let's introduce Amit and Antariksh. And keep in mind, our superstar Vasanthi is joining us. She called the elections correctly. Her scorecard could be controversial, but she did call it. We have to dip our hat to that. So we've got one person who knows politics in the East, at least finally, which is the target of this show. Our audience is basically people who voted in Alipur. Okay. Having said that, let's start with what I've just discussed, guys, on Cock and Bull Part Two. IPL now in a lot of trouble in the sense that let me just set this up for you guys. I don't know if you know, the last leg is now supposed to be in Cal and Bangalore. Bangalore, as it's correctly called, has 23,000 cases as of yesterday.
Yeah.
We had 2,509.
Yeah.
Okay, just to put it in perspective, and we are still worried and scared, and I can't walk the dog. But
Yesterday's match had to be cancelled, right?
it was cancelled because Chakravarthy, the mystery spinner, sort of a leggy, he got it. Apparently, he
Yeah.
went for a scan, and this other guy who's in the 11, who's in the squad, Sandeep, he also got it. So they left the bubble. They went and got their scans done for arm, leg, whatever it was, and they got it. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You
Yeah.
just went
Sorry, what
once to
scans did
one
they go
place,
for? It was like a MRI or something like that.
something like that. So they had to go to a hospital outside the bubble being the hotel and the stadium, right? And then you have only those many people that you interact with, right? They went out of that for literally an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh.
it's scary that in just that hour or two, here they've see now this is an exact science because they had a bubble and these guys have gone out and they've come back. So there is no other option.
We know where they got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that spells doomsday. Already BCCI is in talks with Maharashtra government to move everything to Mumbai. Uddhav is not going to allow that because he's just looking at the worm dip. If he allows that and the worm starts going up again, that's it. Game,
But
set, and match for him.
there are no crowds now in the stadiums.
There are no crowds, but then you're getting these 8 teams, Amit, with all
Yeah,
their
but
people.
dude, that's like 500 people in a
Yeah, 500
context
people,
of
500
25 in
people
a
who
context
have
of
to be
25
locked up
million.
again, who
Yeah.
now have to travel through airports again. See, now they're getting worried. The foreigners are all attempting to pull out, it looks like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Michael Slater, already the cricket commentator, one-time opener Australia, he's scathing comment on Twitter against Scott Morrison. He's run off to Maldives, okay, because Australia shut the airport to
Okay.
Indian travel. Anybody
Oh.
from India cannot travel. So he's gone
Right.
to Maldives and he's written Scott Morrison will be a murderer if he doesn't allow Australians. 35,000 Australians work in, including the IPL guys, 35,000 Australians across India. If they wanted to go home because of this epidemic,
Right.
will not be allowed. In fact, they'll be
Really?
prosecuted for up to 5 to
They're
15 years
not
jail.
allowing citizens back.
Scott Morrison has gone on record saying this: you've gone to do whatever you've gone to do. You're not representing Australia. If you're working in a bank, you're not representing Australia. If you went for a test match, Australia versus India, I will fly you back. You've gone to play IPL, you can't come back. If you're working in a bank, you can't come back. If you're in MNC, that's your problem. That's your business. You have to
That's
figure it out.
insane. They're not allowing
So, but
citizens
this is
back.
this is this is the fascism which is pervasive everywhere. The thinking. So
Hmm.
if on March 35,000 Aussies want to go back right now till May 15th at least, this is the first date they've given them. They cannot enter Sydney or Melbourne. They cannot. They will be put in
Wow.
jail.
So I've
And
been
imagine
actually
Aussies come from jail culture. I don't want to be racist, but if you remember, that's how England, put all their made their prisoners form a colony.
I've actually been looking a lot into this because my mom was supposed to travel to the US, right? And it was supposed to happen around now, which
No,
is a little up in the air right now, right?
Hmm.
She's a citizen, US citizen, so she will be able, but so she's
no,
not
Baba,
blocked
it's
to,
not. No, 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 Ahmed, you got it all
but there are no
wrong.
flights.
You got it all wrong. You do not care whether you're white, black, blue, Muslim, Hindu,
Oh,
German. You cannot enter from Indian soil to any of these places. Taiwan today in the morning said no. A Taiwanese national
Mm.
who's stuck here. He might be the head of the biggest friggin' MNC in bloody Delhi.
Right.
$25 million salary a year. He will not be allowed to enter the Taiwanese airport.
That's weird because again, I've looked at a lot of the countries right now and what are their rules and stuff like that because we're trying to figure a route for her to go, right? So she can go through Qatar Airways, but she needs a 48-hour pre-COVID test done. She can go through. She cannot go to KLM through KLM because Amsterdam is not allowing, but France is allowing. So she can get a Delta flight to Paris and then go via that.
But when she reaches New York with a US passport,
Right.
whatever, they will not be tracing the flight journey.
No, but the US is allowing
Are
US
you
is
sure?
allowing citizens.
Airports are
Well,
not closed
airports are not close to
to
India,
citizens.
to citizens and students. They made an exception for students as well.
Okay, so Australia's come. Scott Morrison is Michael Stitt is a high-profile guy in Australia,
Oh,
a famous cricketer. Blah 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 blah.
yeah.
He's I don't know if you can get the tweet. He's scathing. He said tantamount to murder. And in a way, he's right because if something happens to these guys because they're caught between a rock and a hard place,
Mm.
IPL is really nice. They said, "Look, we look after you. You stay or whatever." But they're panicking, bro. Imagine if you were in a foreign country.
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, like people want to go home.
Yep.
I mean that's just that's the way this is, right?
And
When
and,
there's
and
this
by
kind of
nature,
thing
he's an opener, so he should be allowed to go in first. I mean, isn't that the nature of the game? I mean, what the hell? But
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, but I can see that this is being copied by lots of people, lots of nations around the world who say we look after our people first. There's 24 million Australians
Mhm.
versus 35,000 Australians. So yeah, he's put the tweet up.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, dude, you let them in, you put them in state mandated quarantine, and then if they test negative, you let them out. If they don't test negative, you keep them in
That
quarantine.
was the old way. That was the first innings to go on with the cricket metaphors. The first innings, all this happened. You go back home and you stick to a quarantine. First, it was nice and home quarantine yourself and
Yeah,
all that. Then it became we will give you the facility, and now it's become like please, I don't care. Until that thing stops, you cannot come here, and we have no
that's
date. We have no date.
That's
Did
insane
you?
because that's the most like I don't think I
So
can't think of another country where they're saying that we're not allowed
and this is
citizens back.
Australia, the most egalitarian of all countries in many ways. Just that tweet, I don't know if you guys actually read it. So he said, "Blood on your hands," and I mean,
Yeah.
who? Prime Minister Scott Morrison, blood on your hands, tantamount to murder. Imagine you do saying that in India.
Oh, it's not been
Who's
said.
got the guts to tweet that? Huh?
It's not been said, but then you find
Yeah.
out about it from people who tell you about it from America.
They
You
immediately
don't
get
find
COVID, those who
it.
tweet for some reason. Boom, in 5 minutes they're COVID positive. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You get it from the another news source. But I know we're joking about this. My empathy level, which is rare for anybody, is quite high for these cricketers. I'm feeling quite bad for them. Many of them are donating money, the foreigners especially. If
yeah.
if the Indians are panicking, and this is off the record, I'm not sure if it's true, but I was told from some people in in the I won't name the company. Everybody knows the company. That runs cricket here television wise, that Virat was not keen to play yesterday.
Okay.
Kolkata Knight Riders had two guys who tested positive,
Wow.
and Virat and company, the RCB guy said, I don't want to play. We don't want to play. We don't take a chance."
I don't blame them.
No,
I
so
don't.
if your big guns, if a Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni close down, if your foreign players leave, even if the IPL continues, what's left?
But I mean, like I'll say, where I see the problem is the bio bubble being breached in the first place,
But
right?
what do
What's
they
the
do? How do
point?
they get the scan done? I was trying to think of that answer. The guy gets injured. Let's say it's a wrist
Yeah,
injury.
but then you have to send him out, and has to stay out
So
until he gets
yeah.
cleared
So your
again.
point is, if you get injured, you're bad luck. Off you go
Off you
because you
go.
can't come back in.
You can't come back in for
Yeah.
5 days, six
Yeah.
days, whatever that
Now,
is,
KL
right?
Rahul was in beach candy getting his appendix done,
Oh.
maybe something lower. I don't know, off the record again. People are saying all kinds of things. Man bats a lot on and off the pitch.
So
But
I'll give you NBA parallel, right? Because again, that's where I
now,
follow, right?
in the lockdown,
In the locked
in
in
the
this
US lockdown,
in the so All-Star game this year, February. For the All-Star game, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, two of players from my favorite team, who are both
tested
All-Stars,
positive.
they didn't test positive. They basically the way so the bio bubble isn't as strict as it is over here in some ways, right? But what happens is that if you are outside, you are allowed only to go to certain people. So like your barbers are certified by the NBA, who you are allowed to go to get your hair cut from.
Half of them are bald.
uh, well, not all, but some of them are not, no?
What about the groupies? A basketball player without groupies? I
Well,
mean,
so I mean, like that is there is a bunch of stuff around that as well
what
in
about the
terms of
guy who
how.
went to a strip bar and ordered a hamburger because he's also famous for burgers?
Well, so that guy, what was that guy's name? Lou Williams.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, that happened last year, right? But this year, what happened is these guys went to the barber. the barber shop is being monitored very closely, so closely that when some other patient who went to the barber got basically he tested positive, right? Not at the same time. They weren't in the same place at the same time, but
Yeah, but the
that other
barber could have got it. So you have that trace
that
business
trace
going.
happened, right? At that point
Yeah.
in time, they had to pull these guys out of the All-Star game.
Yeah, but look, how bad was it in America? Then I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh,
That background is
it was
important.
January,
India's under
February.
panic. India's
Yeah,
under panic, and the world is panicking even more about India. If you guys are following any world news,
yeah,
it's like India tragedy continues. World, that's the nicest word I've seen.
yeah.
Okay, so they are panicking. I don't know, panicking is the right word, but they are really more worried than we are. So now the Aussie guys
Mhm.
or the international guys, they are getting their information from home, and plus our news is not sparing them. And
Yep.
then there's the whole, I won't call them leftists, but there's the whole one
Anti
type of people who are anti-sport and saying that you shouldn't have the
the
sport because
IPL
it's
during the
sensitive.
time of the
So then
IPL.
they
Yeah.
start worrying about what are we doing, playing cricket and staying in five-star hotels and eating steak, which is not allowed in India.
So to be honest with you, when I heard about this subject, you guys know I don't follow this stuff, right?
Hmm.
So when I heard about this subject, I thought we were going to be debating those idiot leftists. That's what I thought we were going to be debating. That IPL is buckling to them. I didn't know that there was an actual breach of the bio bubble, and that's causing this. And
Yeah,
that
I'm
that,
telling
that
you,
I get that
Amit, you
stuff,
guys
huh?
are not remembering. Yes, last year in March, the panic. I think Vasanthi is joining us now, but I'll just quickly wrap this up.
Oh,
Panic spread very quickly amongst all us urban people. Very quickly, the gates were shut. Very quickly, the immigrants were
mm,
asked to leave. Not the migrants, rather, were asked to leave. It all happened in a matter of 3 to 4 days. So similarly in the IPL, if the shit hits the fan, it's going to happen very quickly.
yeah,
My worry is an exodus of foreign players. Then the big guns, like if a Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma turn their back, the game is over. So
yeah.
whether the BCI wants to play or not, or whether Udav gives them grants them a thing in Mumbai, it's just over. And then the whole thing will be like a comedy of errors because why did we do it in the first place? Blah blah blue blue. Look at the figures, and all the finger pointing will start. And then who's the loser actually in all this? The one man who's suffering with COVID and can't see his cricket? Me. It's all against me. I can't walk my dog because of Malba Hill police station. I can't lift my weights because you shut down everything. I can't go get work and earn money for my family because of bloody lockdown. And now I can't watch my cricket because of the stupid, unbelievable panic. I know, I know.
Eh,
But they've got a job to do. Some of
yeah.
them have the right attitude saying we must do this. It's helping people. It is helping people. Instead of bloody LOL, this is the one that we need. You know,
Cyrus, if
this.
I can ask a quick question,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how much cricket do you watch in one day? Like how much, like
We
overall in
watch.
your day?
There's only one match a day, isn't there?
I know,
No,
but
but
I'm
now
sure
there's no.
Cyrus seems
Okay, so
like
I'm
he
following.
sounds
You're right.
watches.
I'm following Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Sri Lanka won the second test. First test was a washout. Everybody scored hundreds. I'm also following Pakistan, Zimbabwe, but I don't have the app. Okay,
Wow.
so I would follow even women's cricket because I've started really getting interested in it. Me and my daughter watch together. Once you get that sexism out of your mind, it's a fantastic game. It's sometimes well contested. Vasanthi just walked out when I said women's cricket.
No,
She's
no,
so
she's right here.
sexist,
She'll come back on.
unbelievable. Hates females playing cricket. Anyway, so I do follow, but in all this, there's a truth. I know I'm being a little ridiculously, facetious about it, but there's a truth because a lot of us the sport is a crutch, and so is Amit.
Yeah.
Okay, just that he likes basketball, so he'll understand more. I don't think Silvery, you're in that same space of sports lover, but many of us are like that, and our moods change. If his team loses, my team loses, our moods change, and family knows all that.
I
So
wake up at 6:30 every
he
morning
wakes
to
up at
watch like an
6:30.
hour or two
he
hour or two
he
of
will
basketball before
not
I go
wake
for a
up for
walk.
yoga or for gym or for work, but he will watch his favorite team lose and then abuse the rest of the day. So how to explain that it's cathartic for in many ways after that, the whole they have. I think also we are not too religious. So, these things are almost spiritual for us, the connection. So again, not to put pressure on them, but it is serving. And Amit and I are not alone across different classes and classes, the coast of India, north, south, east, west. There are a lot of people like us and
Yeah,
cricket is huge. And I was just thinking it does help. It gives solace. It distracts definitely. I mean, instead of looking at those figures of 23,000 in Bangalore, I can discuss, what was wrong with the KKR
yeah.
bowling attack. Much more interesting.
No, I mean, like the fact is that we do live. There is a ton of bad stuff coming at us all day from all angles, just constantly, right? And I mean, like, there is something to be said for distraction. One, two. I mean, like, when see, I'm all prepared for the leftist fight now against, like, them wanting to ban cricket. So I feel like those points coming out of me right now. But no, but I
It's
mean,
also the entrepreneur in you. Ultimately, just no matter what you say, there's a certain negativity which has to be avoided. Once
yeah,
we get into that trap, we're finished.
no,
I know it's looking bad here, there, and everywhere, but we have to find a way. to figure out a
Yeah.
way to put your head above water.
No,
It-
it's not just that, right? I mean, like, it's also besides just like, besides just the distraction of it, and the distraction is important, right? But besides just the distraction of it, there's also it's so important for so many people, right? For so many businesses, for so many
any genuine sports lovers listening to us right now will have the empathy to understand is the word distraction was wrongly placed by me.
yeah,
What I mean is the connect is strong. It's
yeah,
so strong, and we need that connect. It's like alcohol for an alcoholic. It's very important for us because what else do we have? This lockdown has shown that to you.
yeah,
They take everything away. Just keep me giving my sports. When there was no live sports, I was going mad. I was
mhm,
watching old cricket footage and boxing
yeah.
footage on YouTube. My wife was like, "What the hell is wrong with you? Are you three?" But which the right answer is yes. But so I just for the sports lovers out there, and we're a whole group, and it crosses cultures and it crosses languages and races and nationalities. All of us, we get so much out of sports since we were young, and to take that away, that would be a huge hole. Because again, most of us are not religious, so we don't have that spiritual path that way. It goes into these kind of things because everyone has a certain spirituality. Unfortunately, it's wasted on sport. You know. And that's why Man United people came on the Old Trafford pitch and abused and screamed.
Because
Why? Because it meant so much to them that they would do that. Stop a game between Liverpool. I mean, would I stop India Pakistan playing something that would be the pinnacle of the year for me?
Shiv Sena
Imagine.
does often digging up
Well,
pitches and
let's just
stuff.
say they're not really cricket lovers. Are you? When you dig up a pitch and then you think you're really happy, you give yourself high five in front of cameras and all after that. Oh, don't
Uh,
start me off. Right
but
now, I'm very pro BJP, except for Calcutta, where I'm pro
Okay.
TMC. Huh.
Yep. So Vasanthi is here. If you want, we
Oh,
can take a
right. Should
break.
we take a quick break?
Yep.
Vasanthi can do a hair and makeup, and off we go with back to Calcutta and the lovely world of politics,
yeah,
where
so
where as the election commission knows, whether there's COVID or no COVID, the show must go on. Yeah. Do we have a credit ad?
Yes, we do have a
we do
credit.
have a credit ad.
Yep. I'll
Okay.
send it to you. Yeah.
Wow, I've got it. Is Vasanthi joining us or not? We,
But,
we'll give her a minute to come on. Oh,
yeah.
there she is. Vasanthi, you have to take part in the credit ad. Congratulations, by the way.
Last it was Rahul Dravid, wasn't it?
The left is dead. So now you cannot turn your back on capitalism. You have to embrace it. Huh?
Yeah, I too have decided.
Rahul Dravid's ad is
I-
gone long ago. Now, credit's going to get very angry with you, Vasanthi. You've been working too hard. Because after Rahul Dravid's ad, they had Kumar Shanu becoming a salesman, which I thought was lovely. And then they had the boy band from your very own Karnataka,
Oh,
the two greatest
as
pace
you know,
bowlers, Srinath and Prasad.
I was an NRK, Cyrus. I was non-resident Karnatakan. I was more in Bengal than in this state.
Well,
Please
you
tell me
missed
what's
Karnataka.
happening in my state.
Yeah, I know 23,000 and growing, but some solace from that beautiful boy band that was created with Venki Prasad and Javagal Srinath, not to mention Maninder Singh with a new look and Sabah Karim in a small cameo. So for cricket lovers of my vintage, 90s, etc., that was beautiful to see them now as, struggling rock stars. They deserve it.
Yeah. I know. I am talking to one future ad star.
I have a good eye for aesthetics. When I see Venki Prasad wink into camera or blow a candle, for me, I mean, I hate to use this word. It is orgasmic. It's just I can't think of anything better. It's just and he, like I said, he's 6'5". If you met him, he's like the most masculine man you'll ever meet. And the things he did in that ad, wow. All right. Cred says this IPL season, just pay your credit card bills on the Cred app, and you could win some epic prizes. But now we'll do it in the voiceover technique of the 80s. It's the Cred Daily Jackpot. The daily mystery reward is unveiled on the app every 13th over of the first innings of the match. Prizes include a Samsung Frame TV, or a pair of Sennheiser wireless earphones, or 5 years worth of Gillette Shave Care. That's right, 5 years. So now my wife has no excuse for keeping that goddamn beard anymore. Don't miss out. Just download Cred. Oh, I miss those voiceovers. Lovely. And you know what they tell us to do? I've done a lot of voiceovers in my golden days. They would always tell you to underline the actual sponsor or the brand.
Right.
And that was so obviously ridiculous when you'd go like, and giving you 25 options today is Cred. It just sounds fake. Vasanthi saved the show. I talk nonsense. They pretend to listen. People are going crazy. So many cases in,
I'm gearing up for the role.
No, listen, first, congratulations. We should hats off to you. I pushed you into corners on 3 occasions, and every time you delivered with TMC slightly ahead. I thought maybe that was a politically correct way of doing it, but At the end of the day, you got the result right. So first, we have to congratulate you, but you did not get the magnitude of the innings defeat, massacre, blitzkrieg that happened. Because 70 odd against 215 odd is not a fight. At the end, I know they did well from 3 to 70 odd.
I'm not alone in not getting the magnitude right. I have company. I have Didi herself.
Oh, is that so? What did she say? Well, what did
I
she predict?
don't think she would have guessed the scale by which this victory happened. A lot of people will say, "Oh, it is unsurprising that Mamata Banerjee came back to power." It's also true, when I was reading back some of the, let's say, past verdicts, etc., that West Bengal never really delivers a half measure. It's almost always a
Oh, is that so?
yeah, I'm not claiming to have done extensive research, but I must say that I think the last time West Bengal delivered a hung parliament, I'll tell you the year was
So definitely not last two terms of hers. They were easy wins, facile wins. This
1967.
1967. Amit was just 1 year old. My God.
Yeah.
Oh, the Beatles had just sung
What?
Hey Jude. 1967. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Congress was the largest party, but it was not the majority. And Prafulla Sen was the winner. As in in terms of the Congress candidate, was tipped to be the chief minister, but he was a Gandhian, and he said that I will not. This is not exactly the verdict
So
that.
what is the Gandhian thing got to do? I don't follow that.
What's that again?
What is the Gandhian point?
The Gandhian point was that apparently he said that unless and until Congress had got an absolute clear majority,
Is that so?
we do not have the people's mandate to assume power. So though he was the one who led the Congress, which emerged as the largest party, the second highest party was the left. The Revolutionary Bengal Congress and led by Ajoy Mukherjee. So essentially, that was the time in 1967 that Jyoti Basu became the deputy chief minister of West Bengal. And possibly this was the only time when the Community Party actually led a coalition government, because they've always supported from outside. So, just a bit of history on your show, Cyrus, and I have not spoken about any
you're
other.
right. I actually met Jyoti Basu once at a party in Calcutta many years ago, just for a second or two. And I must say, a black label man, black label. Huh?
Was it a Tollygunge club?
I can't remember. It was something to do with, we were there for MTV, but we were there for something else. So we had to attend this high profile party, and then suddenly everybody was very anglicized there. And I sounded like the native. It was just so, the Bengali Anglophile is amongst the British, if you can ever catch them. Yeah. So I was like, what? And even they were slip into a British Bengali in between also, but it was, I love my class, it's just such a sick lot of complex people all over India. We should really form a lobby. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to the result. Yeah. So, but of course, one seat she didn't call was Nandigram. So that's one that, maybe she didn't expect. How can you just take us through why, even if they get that overturned now that the law is in their hands, how did that happen? That doesn't make much sense. I know he's a prodigy. I know it's whatever his ilaka to some extent, but she's won the election on her personality. Wouldn't you say that?
See, Cyrus, for the past few episodes, I've been sharing the whatever nuggets that I saw from my travel, and I must tell your listeners that by no means am I claiming any expertise on Bengal. It was almost like a visitor who goes to that state from the south of India, gets
Fahen.
Right. So all that has to be put out there, because people can get very passionate about these things. And what does she know about it? Well, I really don't claim to know about it, but I can say one thing, that the reason why I felt that there was an edge that Mamata Banerjee had was that there was, this was in the midst of discontent with TMC. What fashionably gets called anti-incumbency. And still, here you are watching the result, that how come this anti-incumbency of 10 years, no less, 2011 when she stormed to power, after hatawing 34 years of left rule, how does this woman actually manage a third time win? I think I would put it at, let's say, two factors. One is that though the BJP presented an alternative to at least some people in Bengal who thought that this was a viable savior for them, who would get industry and therefore employment and jobs, which is what people have been suffering from for the past 2-3 years. But BJP could not present itself as the credible alternative for a variety of reasons.
Vasanthi, may I butt in here? Because you yourself, I want to point out what you yourself said. Because you're one of the few people I listen to on a podcast. Let me be honest. And you yourself clearly said that what they say is not what they mean, which is a very Bengali thing. So you were talking to people, including lobbies of the same type, if you want to ever, label us as same types, and yet you were getting answers which were not perhaps what they were going to do, or underlying answer. You read between the lines, or whatever. The text is not clear. So you yourself, and I'm going to congratulate you for telling us that, because if they say that we want change, in the end they've not wanted change, or the buck stops with Didi, and that's where it was. So obviously, what you said again was spot on. So you have much more power than you think.
Well, thank you for that. Except that, that's...
You are the Prashant Kishore of our podcast.
What's that again?
Your name is now Prashant Kishore of Cock and Bull, which is...
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Please don't retire.
Which means I was about to say that you plan to retire me soon from, from this exalted post. But, coming back to our observations about Bengalis or what I saw on the ground vis-a-vis what has emerged, that is what makes it more complex. Indian election is complex enough, but I think in Bengal it was way much, because both the things happened. Like yesterday, this lady reached out and said, Vasanthi, I want to hear from you. Did you really hear that people want, rather the people did not say they wanted to vote for Didi, but they actually went ahead and voted for Didi? I said, shall I tell you something? The opposite was also true. That people were saying, we want to vote for BJP, almost muttering under their breath. This I saw in Sundarban. So what do you really make of it? I don't think there's any pundit who can crack this, except to say that, are these the results? Is this the way it went? And trust the EVM that it has not fudged results and it has given what people actually voted.
Yeah, let's leave that one out of play for now. But coming back
He
to
doesn't want me arguing with him.
No, we always have the generic argument to go back to, but we'll leave that for another time. Let's get to the main thing, which is, I think, what twisted or rather tilted the election in her favor is the video. You guys, I don't know if you can play it at some point, Silverie, the video where she throws the football from her perch on a wheelchair after injury to her leg, which is very dubious and nobody can trace it. She then takes the football and throws it to the audience and gets a huge hurrah, and the tide turned immediately because BJP messed up on one thing. They never mentioned football in Bengal. And on that alone, I feel the crux of the matter was decided.
This is the single biggest insight that we have missed. I can see that we are going to see the glorious...
We must see it. We must celebrate this great moment in Indian history and culture. The man is, for some reason, clearing the path in case she doesn't pass that far with the ball, which is pretty insulting. Didi is quite a... And there she is with pain written on her face from the injury. Superb overhead. Reminds me of Beckham set pieces. And wow, there you go. And there's probably a BJP worker just walking outside who got hit by the ball and will be buried shortly. Oof. Wow.
Yeah, but this is football of a different variety. It is handball.
No, but again, in my stupidity, there's maybe some wisdom in the sense that the Bengali culture is so strong. I was saying that from the beginning. You come, you speak in Hindi in many places. I mean, they just turn away from you, because it's just very strong, their language, their culture, and the subculture, football, and all these things. I've got so many Bengali friends, and the stereotype is so true, and that's why I absolutely love them. I can spend all my time with them because not one of them is an introvert. Everybody wants to speak. Did they miss a beat here? Because in the cow belt, it all worked. Okay, his stardom worked, his presence worked. What went wrong?
I think, I personally penned down 7 reasons why the BJP...
Wow. You are Prashant Kishore.
It almost seems like one of those cosmopolitan articles, 5 ways to keep your husband with you or some such thing.
Don't let them hear you.
but I'm saying that, I really... and here's what I wrote for myself. That one was Hindi campaign in Banglaland.
There you go.
And I said that, Bengal is next only to Tamil Nadu in its resistance to the imposition of Hindi.
Absolutely.
A lot of people said, no, that's not true. After all, there are many, many Hindi speakers. Even Mamata Didi made that overtures to Hindi speakers. But at the end of it, if you are a Bengali at heart, you are looking for signs that the party, which is an alternative for you, is it aligning with your Bengaliness enough?
That's
and the answer is no. BJP didn't exactly become Bangla. It had a prime minister who was trying to, of course, learn Bengali and deliver and promise some ashol paribortun.
But he's never played football and he doesn't eat fish. These are huge issues.
No, not only did he not eat fish, Yogi Adityanath, who was the third biggest campaigner in the
Correct.
Bengal elections, actually promised to turn parts of Bengal into total vegetarian.
That's
like,
it. That
that-
was it. We played the wrong video. Yogi Adityanath cost them Bengal. Sorry to scream. This makes complete sense. Have you met a vegetarian Bengali? Are you crazy? No, 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 no,
Wait,
no.
that was actually something he said.
He did. This is stupidity. Where's the Chanakya now?
Mayapuri, Nabodweep, in the rally, there are places where he said that in fact, at one place, I think I was told that he was mentioning this may become like Haridwar, because there are some places in Bengal, which in his address, he said that if at all the BJP would come to power, he also promised, and
What
this
a
is something the
mistake.
Bengali told me, I didn't see the video, he promised anti-Romeo squads.
Oh,
Like in UP. So it's essentially a UP model.
huge mistake after mistake. I mean, I wish they spoke to me first. Ridiculous. I mean, do you have any Bengali friend? I mean, as far as
Yeah.
Parsis go, we look up to the Bengali because they eat everything. I mean, the food is huge. And you dare impose on that strong culture. Like she says, Tamil Nadu and Bengal, maybe Punjab, I would never impose anything on them
No, and
because the
see,
cultures are just too strong and you'll immediately get animosity and resistance. Immediately.
I think anti-beef might be potentially a winning strategy in some parts of the
In some
country, but
parts, yeah.
there's no way that anti-vegetarian or sorry, anti-non-veg is a winning strategy anywhere in
No,
India,
put
right?
it this way. Put it this way.
No, I
You're
think
actually,
they might have learned early. There might have been feedback mechanism, which is why
guys,
we didn't hear much of it
what do you not?
outside Bengal.
The mistake is sorry, the perspective is wrong because you can't actually lure a Bengali with vegetarian. I mean, the thinking is askew. It's just stupid if you ask me. Forget what's right or wrong morally. I mean, you just can't. She knows better. Vasanthi is almost now like a hardcore Bengali there. It won't
I
work.
would say Ami Niramish, which to say that I am vegetarian. The host would be petrified what to feed me
But
if
you
I'm not
could,
eating much.
with due respect, sweetie, you could not vote there, so you don't count. You have to be able to vote. Only then your presence is acceptable.
I just went and traveled. So
But what you could do is go to Bangladesh and cross over again, and apparently you'll get your voting card and everything in 5 minutes. So the rumor goes.
well, you have your sources there, very, very spot on, Cyrus.
This
And
is
that's actually creating a lot of fear in the lot
no,
of.
Vasanthi, please understand what I thought was comedy is all coming true with my black tongue, and now I'm feeling scared because we think it's facetious and sarcastic and satire and stupidity and all this, and then it comes out to be real. I mean, everything you say, yeah.
This is why from now onwards the responsibility for you is to actually get serious, and since
To steer the country in the right direction.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cyrus for prime minister.
Well, having said that, I still want to become vegetarian. I think eating meat is absolutely wrong. So, but we'll again come back to revisit that later. So, Vasanthi, now let us go through the Nandigram issue we've spoken about. We've spoken about everything. What happened to the TMC? Silverie can set this up. Lots of the guys defected. Give me the number, Silverie.
Yeah, 148 people from the TMC defected to the BJP, and most of them still lost. Most of those people who are defected or lost.
Antariksh, I don't think it's most. I think it's all.
It's
Are you
all
serious?
So okay. The
Zero.
article I read was said most,
But that's
but okay.
Who said most?
The article
Okay,
I read was saying
okay. One
most.
second. Let's not. That's not important. Solaya Satra.
Yeah.
Let's just get to the point as to what is the reason why a defector gets nothing, except in the case of Nandigram, which again may be overturned.
Why would a defector really get anything?
Well,
especially-
in Mumbai it worked. People have left Congress, gone to Shiv Sena and won easily.
About it. I am saying that let's say you are somebody who resides in Bhawanipur, which used to be Mamata Banerjee's constituency at some point of time. Now, if you really have opposed the TMC person in your decision because there was corruption, there was tolabazi, there was extortion and whatever, and you see the same guy, I mean, then you say, then here comes BJP and says that, okay, vote for us, we give you a better, cleaner option. And then you realize that the same guy you were opposing in TMC has now defected to the BJP and has been given a BJP ticket. Would you vote for him? Now, this has happened across the board. Two things happen. A, the loss of the trust of people. B, resentment within BJP party workers themselves. What is their incentive or motivation to therefore work for their candidate's victory? So in a lot of places, BJP's defeat can also be
The
traced
rank and file didn't want to help.
candidate selection, that you did not have your original candidates to begin with. And though you may have, seemed like a better alternative, and fair enough if you did, but the candidates were all wrong.
But Vasanthi, if you go to rest of India, not rest of India, but in parts of India, isn't it when you take a guy from one party to another party, you're taking him because you expect the votes to go with him. Otherwise, why would you take him? Right? He's got a certain base. Say in
Yes.
Bhawanipur, he's got a base,
No,
and
no,
he's got.
that's the difference. You would think that the person who is defecting takes the votes along with him because you're counting on that person's personal popularity.
Correct.
Here, that was not the case. The people who numbers from TMC that Antariksh just mentioned were all seen as TMC rejects. They were the people who Prashant Kishore and Abhishek Banerjee had apparently in a meeting said that these are people who are not really fit for being in TMC anymore.
Is that so?
No, let me just qualify. It's not like I've gone through an individual history of each of these guys. But I'm saying that there was a certain number of people who were classified as TMC rejects, basically because when Prashant Kishore was called in to clean up TMC, quote unquote, this is the first thing that he said, that the party must have a face which is acceptable to the people. This can happen by pulling back candidates who actually have acceptance in terms of the work they have done. Secondly, by the outreach programs of the government, Didi ke bolo. There was one program where you can really pick up the call. You could speak to Didi herself, as in you could speak to the government, Trinamool government itself. And this is credited with a lot of success on the ground. People who believe that there was this now, after having lost a lot of ground, Mamata, when she decided to correct, this was one of the public contact programs. So when you choose candidates who have that acceptance and you reject those, and those are getting picked up by the BJP because they think that, okay, we at least have people who've had some kind of a mass contact, but it hugely backfired because of the same reason.
Is that how she injured her foot in the first place? By dropping the phone? I mean, if you're going on, taking calls, it could happen, slip of the hand. But coming back to this entire thing, 140 odd, if the numbers are so against them, are you telling me that most of them were people who Prashant Kishore, being neutral and clinical about it, and I think this is what all Indian political parties need actually, said, okay, let's not waste time. I'm selecting like a neutral person, like in a cricket team. These are the best people for the base, and these are not so good people for the base. And he just cleaned them out.
The candidates who were selected for, ultimately meant that there were so many others who were rejected, that who were really not found fit for the job.
Oh, I didn't.
And those were the ones who.
So why would the BJP, Vasanthi, but why would the BJP take in a guy who's runner-up? I want the guy who's going to bring me the votes. Why am I wasting my time?
Frankly, this is really tough to answer. It tells us two things: that there was a shortage of candidates who at least the BJP thought had the winnability. It must have been a huge round of miscalculation as well. Because even as a run-up to, I remember the first phase of assembly elections, March 27th when it started, and I was still in Bangalore. I was reading the papers. There was this news clip, an incident of BJP party workers storming the office, and Amit Shah had to almost be called on an SOS basis, simply to address this heartbreak and angst amongst these people, saying that, why have you not given us tickets? What does it tell us? That there were people who thought that they had worked for these constituencies from the grassroots level. However, somebody else was given a preference, and those happened to be TMC defectors.
I mean, this is mistake after mistake. If you put it in perspective for a second, correct me if I'm wrong. So the rejects from TMC take over the superstars of BJP and get there. So from both ways.
Superstars. No.
Well, okay, I'm exaggerating, but the point is, from both perspectives, it's like a wrong decision. You're killing the morale of your people, and you're taking the people who don't have no consequence in terms of political positioning into your party. So this is not the Amit Shah we know. This doesn't, even I know that would be Amit, say something. Does that make sense?
None of this makes sense. I mean, it is, but at the same
Except to
time,
pull
it
down the
does.
TMC and say some people left. I got that. You got the media blitz on that, and that made sense. It means like, the party is weakening. They don't want to stay. So they got that. But to actually place them and then, and take out your own guys, that does cause a sort of double split.
No, but I think it would. I think that's what you're going to see in these kinds of situations, because as Vasanthi described, right? I mean, like these were essentially the dregs of the TMC that were pulled up by.
That's harsh.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, they were the rejects. I mean, like,
Now,
what do you want to call
once you
them?
lose,
right?
once you lose, you can call them what you want. It's so unfair, actually. Yeah.
No, but that's who they were, right? I mean, like, because if
apparently
they were,
we didn't
if
think
they,
of that before.
if they were going to be actually the people who TMC thought would win for them, then TMC would have fought, would have put them forward, right? It doesn't seem like, I mean, like it seems like the TMC is a pragmatic party, right? It doesn't seem like the TMC is a party of idealism.
Under
So,
Prashant Kishore.
well, I don't know. I
That's
mean,
gone now.
well, I mean, I think that that is the case in most cases, right? I mean, like when you look at a party like the TMC, or you look at most political parties, there's pragmatism, right? There's very little ideology.
Hmm.
So, I mean, like
Well, they
it,
should go hand in hand, but that's another story.
well, no, they don't. No, they rarely do.
All right, listen, we need to abruptly end this and get into our AMAs. Vasanthi, are you staying with us for the next 10 odd minutes?
Yes, for the questions, if there are quick ones, yes.
They're always quick ones. Look at us. We talk so fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even, we go to the next question, ignoring the first. Yeah. Silverie?
All right. Let's get to the AMAs. I'll just try and find the ones about
Bengal, which
Bengal elections. Yes.
which had won.
They're all from the BJP workers. Why was the office burnt?
Sorry, one second.
No, even as Antariksh finds the questions, one let's say turn in the tide. Yesterday, we have seen incidents of such poll violence in Bengal.
Oof.
I think that needs to be said, that just because Bengal has chosen Didi and TMC doesn't mean that it is really some kind of a
Parivartan nahi hua.
this thing, because all of us know that she has in the past shown quite instances of the same megalomania, quote unquote, which a lot of people attribute to Mr. Modi.
You're out of Calcutta, no?
I'm safely out, and I hope my location is undisclosed. You see,
Right now, Karnataka is besieged with COVID. No one is bothered about anything else. Don't worry.
that's the hope with which I'm being so candid. But I'm saying that it's really important for her to also learn her lessons and become a chief minister for all communities, and actually become probably a national
It's immediately a black spot. If your celebration, I'd much rather they had their Rosgullas, drank a little wine or beer or whatever the hell they wanted to do, and partied social distance or not. But I mean, if you blow up an office and 6 people die, I mean, where do you go? Like you said, you're going from one to the other. I mean, that's just
But
terrible.
do you think, Vasanthi, that any of the governments that are going to win elections over the next few years are going to govern from a sense of that we're going to govern from, like, for everybody, rather than, or are they going to double down on their own political kind of basis? Because that seems to me the case across the world, right? That everybody's doubling down on their own base,
And
whether it's on the liberal side with what Joe Biden is doing in America right now, or whether it's on the conservative side with what we see the BJP
and they
doing in
also
India
let
right
the
now.
fire
Good
rage on.
observation. Yeah, it is only wishful thinking, and the people who have not voted, let's say, for Didi this time, they shouldn't be cornered, or the thing is, already we are seeing as if there are the BJP has enough grounds to say that, okay, that their supporters are going to be targeted and stuff like that. But I think Bengal is in for its share of violence once again, and you can just watch from a distance and say it's such a lovely state and doesn't deserve to go through this.
And vengeance and retribution is now the political speak of the last 5-7 years, at
Yeah.
least across the board. We thought it would only be in the center, but it's everywhere. And I think that's a horrible trend. I prefer the old days when everyone was corrupt and they didn't hurt each other. In fact, they even let the old party keep their houses and found new bungalows and threw out middle class people.
So
Which-
there's actually I read a paper, was it a paper or an article, I don't remember, but I read something. I think it was foreign policy somewhere. But this idea of how stringently you should prosecute corruption of previous governments, because the more stringently you go after previous governments from a corruption point of view, the more it turns into a tit for tat game. And what eventually loses is actual governance. Rather, what you get is this performative, dramatic aspect where one government is going after the previous government's bad doers, and then when that government gets voted out, the next one comes in and they go after the others. It's just
Unless,
a
yes,
season.
though in Mamata's case that won't be the case.
That's true.
She's
just carrying on.
to go after herself.
But Vasanthi, just look at the example of Chidambaram putting Amit Shah in for 100 odd days and Amit Shah putting Chidambaram in for one more day than that. If you see that scoreline, I mean, that's petty politics at its
Yeah.
very best. I mean, and then you're thinking, what? Really? I mean, are we schoolboys? Why are we doing this? And I'm sure they came back to Pa Chidambaram and put him in for another one extra day.
102
You can't
days.
stop themselves. Yeah, whatever. So, I mean, how can you? And I think I'm like, an idiot and a juvenile and a regressive person. And then sometimes I just feel that really, are we all in the same classroom here? I mean, these are movers and shakers and statesmen, supposedly. Anyway, let's get the AMAs.
All right. The first one comes in from Tarun Kaushik. Hey Tarun, good morning. He asks, will Didi be considered as the PM candidate for 2024? Your thoughts, Vasanthi?
So
Yeah.
this is the big rumor, Vasanthi.
Yes. I would think yes. I mean, look at her.
The coalition.
No.
What's the
I
part?
think the
Yeah.
question is about the PM candidate. I think she can become the rallying point for all the regional parties which have anyway won in Tamil Nadu and Kerala and this thing. It's a huge possibility.
So here's my. I'll take this question a little further. Who is the most ferocious and powerful of all the personalities in opposition? I think without doubt she is. Okay, without doubt. And this is a positive, not a negative.
Actually, I think
Apart from all the negatives or all the mismanagement, misgovernance, corruption, and all the thing, you just have to hand it to this woman. What a street fighter! What a this thing. So I think her let's say that streak within
No.
her of being
It's not just if you study Indian politics and the machogiri and the chauvinism that surrounds it, any woman who goes through that entire rank and file rises to the top, be it a Jayalalitha, be it Mamata, be it even the Delhi chief minister, whose name will come back to me in a minute. Sheila Dixit. They're all powerful personalities. They can't just tom over these guys.
It takes something to really rise to the top in the midst of all the political reality.
And she's the only one who didn't blink under Narendra Modi's fire. Most of them have backed off. She's the only one who's never once backed off, even when it looked, as you said, a dog fight and things may go against her. She picked up a football and she threw it into the audience.
But do you think that do you think that Mamata Banerjee could be a coalition candidate in that sense? Do you think that other parties would be willing to kind of, support her in that sense? I think that other regional parties would have a huge issue with somebody who's that polarizing and that kind of that strong.
She's not polarizing. Why would you say she's polarizing?
It's the question is at the moment, even given that we are talking at least
3 years,
4 years,
2024. I think at the moment it's nascent because it does seem like she has emerged as this undisputed face amongst regional parties, even amongst powerful personalities like Pinarayi Vijayan or, for that matter, Stalin and others. Whether she will be so acceptable to the opposition, we still don't know. I think
and DMK may not want a central position. We don't know what they as a figure from their party as PM. We don't know how everybody's thinking.
But I think that what you see
comes with its own thorns. Yeah.
What you see with coalition governments is you generally see compromise candidates emerge, right? Manmohan Singh was a compromise candidate in his
that's
first
a different
term.
type of compromise.
No, but even if you look at Deve Gowda or you look at IK Gujral, right? These are compromise candidates.
I think the word is wrong, Amit. They need a leader. Someone has to take the bull by the horn.
But the leader can come for a single party when you're trying to create a big tent of multiple parties.
On Narendra Modi.
Uddhav Thackeray
No.
Okay,
they need an
Sharad
alpha,
Pawar.
a proper young Sharad Pawar, yes. But they need an alpha.
He is not going to accept Mamata Banerjee as his leader.
We don't know. Politics is strange.
You're right.
Did you think the three of them would form an axis and that Shiv Sena will pull out of BJP, who have anyway stolen their orange from them and not returned it? So, who knows? But I'm saying that if the opposition is to stand up, they need a real alpha leader. They need a leader who's perceived as a leader. They've had a problem, especially with the Congress party, of propping up people who don't appear to have any leadership skills.
Agreed.
So and who can take him on?
I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see anybody at this point. I think we're in Modiland till 2029.
Possibly.
That the discussion is really, I would say, way into the future. I would say Cyrus's show at the moment is sounding futuristic. In that sense.
My life has been fantasy in more ways than one. Silverie, next question.
All right. Next one comes from Muhammad Akib. He asks, elections being on one side, is it fair that BJP announced a protest on Twitter in these times? So I don't know if you guys read. BJP.
What?
They did against the result.
Yeah, he's basically saying, is it fair that the BJP announced a protest on Twitter in these times?
The
TMC... they announced on May 5th, they announced a nationwide dharna against the TMC violence after the
they announced the thing against the violence. So that is...
Yeah, but that's not really...
but you can't...
Frankly, that's the way political parties are. Didi has challenged the Nandigram result.
Yeah,
so I think everybody does that. I frankly don't see that as anything which stands out.
And no human being, no normal, conventional, regular...
The people that might be on the lips, but That's not what they're thinking from inside.
No, and I mean, like, if you throw the pandemic piece into it, then I mean, like, it's more of the same, right? In that sense, right? But again, I mean, that's just what
But
they
every
do.
time we have a first world, like a very complicated election with 7 phases, blah, 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 it's all done during COVID, blah, 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 blah. And then you have the third world moment, where celebration becomes burning a office of the opposition and 6 people dying who are probably
It's
really, almost innocent, the lowest rank and file. It's not the
No,
policymakers.
that's also because Cyrus in India, there many centuries live in the same century and same
yeah,
year 2021. There's just so many people
And in
it's a
that
straight
finger
coexisting.
line.
pointing, no one will anoint blame on anyone actually, because the head will never really know. It's like what used to happen here in the 60s with our right-wing parties. They are not really involved in the people who are rioting and breaking down Valentine's Day card shops or whatever. You
Like
know,
Donald Trump was not really
they are
involved
not
with the.
really involved in the white supremacists.
Or I mean, like, there are many
Empowerment.
ways to look at this, right? I mean, like, see, again, the thing is that yeah, see, I believe this, right? I think that when we're talking about violence that occurs from political supporters, right, we kind of present it in the way as if the leaders are saying, "Go do that," which is not exactly how it happens, right? And this is the case in like all kinds of things. Even when it comes to the man, even when it comes to the Gujarat riots that happened in like the early 2000s, right? Over there, it's not like the chief minister Narendra Modi was going out and saying, "Go do this." It's more of a question of what are the failures of leadership that occur in these situations, right? And those are the things that I think people need to be held to account for. When you try and hold them to account for things which are obviously not objectively true, you're basically conflating the thing, and you're letting them escape responsibility because they get a straw man to point to. I obviously didn't do that.
We'll see. But my
Indeed.
only
Do we have more questions?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Else,
yes,
yeah.
we do.
I will.
My
A
God, really
A
high maintenance. Bolo?
AM has asked. AM has asked. For this is AMA for Vasanthi. This person says, does it look like the tide is changing for BJP in India now?
How can you make that?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
make that call, Vasanthi?
What's that?
You're making that call over one election.
No. So here it is, right? There have been simultaneously Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Bengal
But you
and
knew Tamil Nadu was going DMK.
Bengal. To answer this person, Mr. or Miss AM, what would you say in a state like Kerala? Kerala, BJP has lost the
Zero.
only seat that it had in the Kerala Assembly, Mr. O. Rajgopalan, who was
And made no.
respected
Yeah.
by all parties across the board. So this time, even the Metro man, Sridharan, has lost. So would I say that BJP is really out of Kerala completely? Just because it has not won a seat, but from what my ground travel experience last time, I could see that the BJP is gaining more ground in Kerala. It may not have won a seat. At the same time, experts who can look at, you can go online and check the vote share of BJP that has increased. I don't
Went up.
have it handy with me, but they have emerged as the second alternative in many of these places in Kerala. That actually is a gain.
How's
And of
that?
course, without
It's LDF and UDF, almost everything.
No, the Congress has not won anything. I think that's a separate story. That the Congress has completely lost its ground. Ramesh Chennitala, particularly in the Kerala Congress, has let's say let down the Congress so much so
They,
that even Rahul Gandhi's rallies could not do anything. Just
he's a
anything.
member of parliament from Kerala.
Yeah. From Wayanad. But
Wayanad, yeah.
I'm saying that in most of these places, it's quite possible that BJP's tally has decreased. But I would not say turn the tide. Yes, in Bengal, there's been a definitive answer, and that has sort of halted the saffron surge in many. Otherwise, one way to look at the same question that this person has asked, if BJP had won Bengal, then it totally changes the dynamics of BJP's let's say presence
Decimation of all the states.
across India. But I would not really say, because please remember that though they may not be seeming apparent as a seat won, but what is the entry? I mean, from 18 out of 42 seats in Lok Sabha.
The murmurs are there.
And yeah, so in terms of seats, they are gaining, isn't it? So it is not turning the tide. That will be too drastic a word to use. Yes, they have lots of lessons to learn. They were on this sort of victory march, even 2019, 2020, which has halted, which I'm sure they're going to, I mean, if they're a serious party, they'll go back into their drawing boards and this thing saying that, okay, where are we going wrong? Why did we not get Bengal? when it really seemed to some people that yes, they're going to get far higher seats.
Right. Yeah, I suppose again this question is answered too early. The India keeps changing and fluctuating, and I don't think it's predicting now would be really hard. But you're right. There are about 8 or 9 states who are holding out against BJP, and they're all big ones, more or less. And there, for now, it looks like the BJP's presence is there, but it's not going to be more than 50% in the near future. So,
I remember
Silverie, next.
when I was leaving Kerala, 2019. I was I think yes, from Wayanad. I was coming back to Bangalore. Then there was this airport staff, So I was just asking him. I said, okay, so what's it looking like? Shabarimala issue has happened. So it almost seems like things which we never heard of in Kerala, which was this whole communist bastion and things like that. BJP is able to make an entry into public sentiment. And this man said, yes, there has been no expression. There's been no sort of, for all the radicalization that's happening across the Kerala coast, there has been no alternative. And this is coming up as a thing for Hindus like us who have till now have remained quiet. I think there's a very legit answer. Person had right or wrong for those of us outside who have no stakes. But I'm saying that likewise, when I went to
And this was a state where the trio of communities were living happily, more or less.
Yeah, that's what it seems so. And it really didn't matter whether you're a Muslim or a Christian or this thing in Kerala, but suddenly these identities are becoming more and more important. It's therefore, rather than being politically correct, I think we really have to get into the depth of the matter and understand why people are feeling so. That's when I think real, let's say, change, or we'll be able to understand the real point that's happening across India.
Yeah, you can't sell a concept unless there's some seed of thought in that direction from the market. So
I mean the exact polar opposite, but in a way very very similar thought which I found in parts of central Bengal and towards Murshidabad, where they did not even entertain the thought of BJP, even if it was giving them let's say jobs. They said, "Nahi, Didi ko vote karna hai, Didi ko vote karna hai," because they were so petrified at the thought of voting BJP to power and finding that their citizenship is at stake. I mean, even the Gorkhas, I mentioned this before, whether the Muslims of Murshidabad or the Gorkhas, this thing, BJP did push them to a corner. And it's now for BJP to examine, saying that should their campaign have been so divisive, or should they have had a positive campaign like they did in 2019, when the whole premise was that, okay, Modi comes back to power and this is the development agenda. But since they chose to pursue this, and this is the results they have got.
Vikas was not mentioned? No, Vikas. I'm not playing this game. Without Vikas, I don't play. Vikas has to be there.
No, Cyrus, it's not Vikas, it's Bikosh.
Oh, Bikosh. Oh, that's the mistake they made. Bengalis didn't understand. They're like, Vikas, what are you saying? Silverie, last question.
It's because they said Bikosh.
Because they should have said Vikas. You're right. Let's go on for half an hour.
Okay. Now, last one comes from Jannat Nain. It's just a fun question. Which Indian political leader would you be happiest stuck on a remote island with?
Oh, there's a Bengali politician who's very pretty. What's her name? What's a pretty Bengali girl?
I have no idea.
Everybody,
Okay, this question is not
Yes, yeah.
Silverie, you naughty beast.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, all of us like her as a politician. Yeah.
She's made speeches.
Yeah, and she's very articulate also. So you're talking about conversation would be the
I'm
most.
not going to help you with Mahua Matra or someone.
Yes.
By the way, Sheila Dikshit and I were on a plane together to Bangkok for an HIV/AIDS conference, and unfortunately for her, she was on the aisle and I was on the other aisle, right in the first front seats. And so I started talking to her. She was really genial and nice. Some of them, outside the politics can be like really normal. So God knows. Who do you choose, Amit?
I have no idea, man. I mean, like, honestly,
It's not your great fantasy of the day.
yeah, I've never really thought of really
Who should I
interacting
spend my nights and days with?
yeah, no, and a political figure at that.
Can I
right?
choose in Rajya Sabha also?
I haven't. I really haven't.
I will put my namesake.
Who?
Since you named me PK.
Ah, okay, that's an interesting one.
Prashant Kishore.
Yeah.
I think there's really lots to ask him, and 3 days on an island might be just about enough.
That's interesting. That's an interesting.
No, island, you need female company. I mean, the gender has to be opposite for me. I can't have a man for 3 days. It just drive me nuts. I'll kill myself.
Excuse me, I'm not offering you the company of Prashant Kishore. I said that if I were stranded, that's who I
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking, you made the right decision because you've got like a Chanakya, plus you've got, he's not the worst looking of all people in this political stratosphere. But coming back to me, I'll go with the Bengali girl whose name, please give me her name, with M. Moina. Mawa. That's right. That's
Moitra.
right. Mawa Mitra. Got to get the name correct, or she throw me off the island.
It was nice knowing you. আমি তোমাকে ভালোবাসি.
আমি তোমাকে ভালোবাসি, and also I have to walk the dogs under pressure from police at
Yes.
Malabar Hill. Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
Vasanthi,
so-
thank you so much. Once again, congratulations on calling it in your sheepish way, but you made your point every time. You always put TMC's nose ahead. And of course, it was more than nose, it was right up to the feet. But all said and done, you called it. So we have to respect that. Yep.
Yeah, you're almost setting me up for a career in political strategy and stuff like that.
Listen,
I might be looking at
from a
lucrative
gossipy
future.
point, see, politics is also fodder for us. I mean, to just talk about it. It's like cricket or sport in some way. So we really enjoy the whole concept of banter about what's going to happen. And I think someone who calls it correctly and gets it correctly has to be given the plaudits and the applause. Because, and you've always given reasons. You've given very credible reasons throughout. The landslide, perhaps not, but you did call it. So respect there. Now, please ask for your check from Amit, and I have to leave to walk my animals.
Yeah, and by the way, I've signed up for an online course to learn Bengali. So the next time, if at all I come on your show, I will be speaking in Shuddho Bangla. And every day there is a WhatsApp message that waits for me. Apnir, and what do you say for tum or tu or aap? There's lessons that are coming my way, and I'm just 30 days away from being Ami Tagore.
Cyrus, we just
Cyrus,
lost your audio.
we lost your audio.
No, that's his Bangla.
No, that's okay. I think we're all right. We're done, and we'll let it end because for Cyrus to fix his audio will be a challenge, and he'll need to
So-
get Maya, and we'll have to do a whole bunch of
Yeah.
time.
So just before ending, please everyone like the video and please tell your friends about it that we are live streaming every morning at 10 a.m. And if you missed the live stream, please check us out on the IBM Podcast app or website or any other podcasting app wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you so much. See you guys tomorrow.